Welcome back. Lesson 19 could be your title, following on from your previous lessons. Grab your booklet, something to write on. Let's get going. Just in case you missed it, in my last lesson, silly game from me. At the end of the lesson, your treat for making it all the way through the recorded lesson is there's going to be a cute animal picture, just for fun. So, let's make a start on our lesson properly. I'll do now. Today we are going to return to these three characters. By the way, you can ignore the date, that's just the date I've recorded it. So these three characters, we've got Ferdinand, Miranda, Prospero. Oh, I've just realised I've answered the first question. What are these characters' names? Never mind. You can have a bonus one from me there. Second one, what are the relationships between these three characters? There we go. Let's do that as I do now. What are the relationships between these three characters? Please pause the video, write your answer down. Okie dokie, so Miranda is Prospero's daughter. Ferdinand has been washed ashore the island. Ferdinand and Miranda have fallen in love. Ferdinand is Alonso's son, that's the king, remember, King Alonso. Ferdinand thinks that his father has died in the shipwreck. So you can mark your own answers there. So today we are flipping back to plot one. I know you probably think, oh, we're jumping around plots, but actually it's important that we're kind of trying to find a way to keep track of this. So plot one we've been calling the love plot. So Prospero has seen that Ferdinand and Miranda fell in love at first sight. After he saw this, he said this. They are both in either's powers, but this swift business I must uneasy make, lest too light winning make the prize light. What did Prospero mean by this? Can you remember? Have a little think. So Prospero, he was worried. He thinks that if Miranda and Ferdinand fall in love too easily, their love will not be strong. So he wants to challenge their relationship. That's what this quotation means. Today we're going to look at Act 3, Scene 1. The scene is very straightforward actually, but we're going to look at it in 6 sections. And it's going to come up on the screen. Okay, so Act 3, Scene 1. This is the beginning. We find Ferdinand carrying logs. He says the thought of Miranda makes the work easy. What I'd like you to do, please, to follow along, there's going to be some comprehension for you here. That's the kind of purpose of this task, if you like. So I'm going to read it to you. And I want you to write down one quotation that supports what this is about. So we find Ferdinand carrying logs. He says the thought of Miranda makes the work easy. Find one quotation that shows this is what happens. So you're needing to find something that shows that thinking of Miranda makes the work easy. Now to help you out, on the next slide, I've put a modern text next to it. I'm going to read from the Shakespeare text on the left. But like I said, you have got the modern text on the right that you might want to pause and use as we work through this. So just hear the script to start with. So Ferdinand. There be some sports are painful, and their labour delight in them sets off. Some kinds of baseness are nobly undergone, and most poor matters point to rich ends. This my mean task would be as heavy to me as odious. But the mistress which I serve quickens what's dead, and makes my labours pleasures. Oh, she is 10 times more gentle than her father's crabbed, and he's composed of harshness. I must remove some thousands of these logs and pile them up upon a sore injunction. My sweet mistress weeps when she sees me work, and says such baseness had never like executor. I forget. But these sweet thoughts do even refresh my labours, most busiest when I do it. let's go to the next slide. So we find Ferdinand carrying logs. He says the thought of Miranda makes the work easy. Pause here, please, and find a quotation which shows this. And by the way, try and do the quotation in the Shakespeare text. That's the purpose of this, getting you to navigate through that Shakespeare text. As I said, you've got the modern translation on the right hand side there. If you look towards the bottom, bit of a clue. My sweet darling cries when she sees me work. Maybe have a look around there. So pause the video, write down a quotation. Okay, let's do another one. So now Miranda enters. This is what's happening in this scene. She asks him to stop working. Remember, he was carrying the logs. She even offers to do some work for him. Find one quotation which shows this. So enter Miranda. Prospero comes in, but he's not seen yet. Miranda says this: "Alas, now, pray you, work not so hard. I would the lightning had burnt up those logs that you are enjoined to pile. Pray, set it down and rest you. When this burns, 'twill weep for having wearied you. My father is hard at study. Pray now, rest yourself. He's safe for these 3 hours. Ferdinand: Oh, most dear mistress, the sun will set before I shall discharge what I must strive to do. Notice on the right hand side, Ferdinand's saying, oh, I can't finish this until sunset. Miranda responds, If you'll sit down, I'll bear your logs the while. Pray, give me that. I'll carry it to the pile. So remember, you need to find a quotation and write it down where Miranda offers to do the work for him. So if you need to, pause the video and write it down. Now this is just the next part of the script, so this is just, I'm just going to read this bit to you. Ferdinand: No, precious creature, I had rather crack my sinews, break my back, than you should such dishonour undergo while I sit lazy by. Miranda: It would become me as well as it does you, and I should do it with much more ease, for my good will it is, and yours it is against. Then Prospero comes in, so Miranda's father comes in, but he says this as an aside, so that means Ferdinand and Miranda can't hear him, so this is to the audience, if you like, and to himself. Poor worm, thou art infected. This visitation shows it. So Prospero's in the scene here, but the characters Ferdinand and Miranda don't know that yet. And so Ferdinand goes on and he continues to compliment here. He compliments Miranda's beauty. We've seen that earlier in the play, and at this point he compliments her beauty. So you're going to need to find a quotation on the next slide that shows Ferdinand is complimenting Miranda's beauty. Miranda: You look wearily. Ferdinand: No, noble mistress, 'tis fresh morning with me, when you are by at night. I do beseech you, chiefly that I might set it in my prayers. What is your name? Miranda. Oh, my father, I have broke your hest to say so. So just to cut in here, if you look over at the translation there, Father, I've disobeyed you by telling him that. So she wasn't supposed to tell Ferdinand her name. Her father said, don't tell anyone your name. Back to Ferdinand. Admired Miranda. Indeed, the top of admiration, worth what's dearest to the world. Full many a lady I have eyed with best regard, and many a time. Now I'm going to carry on to the next slide for you to find the quotation. Remember, you're looking for Ferdinand compliments Miranda's beauty. This is continued here. The harmony of their tongues hath into bondage brought my too diligent ear. For several virtues have I liked several women. Never any with so full soul, but some defect in her did quarrel with the noblest grace she owed, and put it to the foil. But you, oh you, so perfect and so peerless, are created of every creature's best. So you need to find a quotation which shows Ferdinand is complimenting Miranda. Take a look at the bottom there and use that modern text to help you. On the modern text it says you're perfect, without a rival in the world, made up of the best qualities of every creature. So that would be a really good one to write down here perhaps. But write it down in the Shakespearean text, please. Pause now. Okay, section 4. Remember, we're doing 6 sections here. So Miranda then admits she doesn't know how beautiful she is compared to other women. She'd never met any. But she says she can't imagine anyone more handsome than Ferdinand. Show a quotation that shows this is what happens. So Miranda says, I do not know one of my sex, no woman's face remember, save from my glass, mine own. Nor have I seen more than I may call men than you, good friend, and my dear father. How features are abroad, I am skilless of, but by my modesty, the jewel in my dower, I would not wish any companion in the world but you. Nor can imagination form a shape besides yourself to like of. But I prattle something too wildly, and my father's precepts I therein do forget. And Ferdinand says, I am in my condition a prince, Miranda. I do think a king. So, take us to the top there. Miranda admits she doesn't know how beautiful she is, so you could find a quotation that shows that. Or she says she can't imagine anyone more handsome than Ferdinand. Can you find anything to support that, or perhaps even to support the fact that she really likes Ferdinand? Might be another way of approaching this. How do we know she really likes Ferdinand? Pause the video if you need to and jot down a quotation. So in section 5, the next part of this scene, they swear they love each other. Find a quotation that supports and shows this is what happens. Miranda, do you love me? Ferdinand, O heaven, O earth, bear witness to this sound and crown what I profess with kind event. If I speak true, if wholly invert what best is boded me to mischief, I, beyond all limit of what else in the world, do love, prize, honour you. Miranda, I am a fool to weep at what I am glad of. Prospero aside, so remember Prospero's listened to all of this, and he says this from the kind of side of the stage, if you like, listening in. Fair encounter of two most rare affections. Heavens rain grace on that which breeds between them. So again, use the right hand side here. He's saying what a pleasant meeting between two people. He realises his daughter Miranda is truly in love. And he says, may heaven bless them because they love each other. Ferdinand, and he's saying this, remember, to Miranda. So Ferdinand, wherefore weep you? So again, pause the video, find a quotation that shows that they love each other. And lastly, this is the last one, and the last time I'm going to ask you to find a quotation during this lesson. So, what we're about to read, they agree to get married. Find a quotation that shows that is what happens. Miranda, if not, I'll die your maid, to be your fellow. You may deny me, but I'll be your servant, whether you will or no. Ferdinand, my mistress dearest, and I thus humble ever. Miranda, my husband then. Ferdinand, I, with a heart as willing as bondage ever of freedom. Here's my hand. Miranda, and mine, with my heart in it, and now farewell till half an hour hence. So again, if you look over to the right-hand side, Ferdinand's saying, well, you'll be my wife then. I'll serve you forever. Miranda says, will you be my husband? And Ferdinand replies with yes, with a heart more eager. So he's so willing to be her husband. So, using the Shakespeare text, can you write down a quotation which shows that they're agreeing to get married? So again, you might want to pause the video now and write down your quotation. So well done for following that through, and well done for getting those quotations down. We're actually we're not going to ask you to kind of check your quotations, because you might have written several different ones. But hopefully by writing down those quotations, look back at them now, because that is going to help you to understand what's going on in the play, and that will now help you to think about this question. Has Ferdinand done enough? So has he done enough? In that scene that you've just been writing the quotations down for, has he done enough to make clear and declare his love to Miranda, keeping in mind that Prospero was listening? Will Prospero allow Ferdinand to marry his daughter Miranda? So a little bit more reading, very short, lines 1 to 11 at 4C1. Lines 1 to 11 says only 11 lines here. Again, I've broken it down just so it helps you to keep track. So this is what Prospero says. Prospero, if I have too austerely punished you, your compensation makes amends, for I have given you here a third of mine own life. So Prospero, this is the start of what he says, and now he's actually talking to Ferdinand and Miranda. So Ferdinand and Miranda are present, they can hear him, and he's saying to Ferdinand, Prospero is saying to Ferdinand, actually Ferdinand, I've punished you, I've not been very kind, I've been very unkind to you. And Prospero, here in the bold it says, I've given you here a third of mine own life. He's saying that his daughter is a third of him. His daughter is a third of his life. His daughter is precious to him, the most special part of him, a whole third of him. So he's making clear, he's saying, look, Ferdinand, I haven't been kind to you, but I am giving you a third of my life here. I'm giving you Miranda. Prospero goes on to say, or that for which I live, who once again I tender to thy hand. All thy vexations were but my trials of thy love, and thou hast strangely stood the test here afore heaven. So Prospero is saying to Ferdinand, look, I've put you to the test, I've checked you out, I've kind of put you on trial, if you like, and actually you've stood the test of my trial. You've passed the test, if you like. So Prospero is pleased with Ferdinand. He thinks that he is a suitable match for his daughter. Prospero goes on, I ratify this, my rich gift. That means I give you my gift. I give you Miranda. O Ferdinand, do not smile at me that I boast her off, for thou shalt find she will outstrip all praise and make it halt behind her. So this is the end of what Prospero has to say. So he's agreeing to the marriage. He's saying, yes, have this gift of mine, have my daughter, take her. However, you'll find she will outstrip all praise. That means she's going to be better than any praise Ferdinand's going to give. She is the best in Prospero's eyes. So she's better than any praise. Make it halt behind her. Means she's better than any kind words or compliments Ferdinand can give. But Prospero's being positive here. Really positive. And so this is the speech overall. If I have too austerely punished you, your compensation makes amends, for I have given you here a third of mine own life, all that for which I live, who once again I tender to thy hand. All thy vexations were but my trials of thy love, and thou hast strangely, stood the test here afore heaven. I ratify this, I give you my rich gift. Oh, Ferdinand, do not smile at me that I boast her off. There, he's saying he's actually quite sad that he's got to give her up for marriage here. For thou shalt find she will outstrip all praise and make it halt behind her. So Miranda's better than any praise. Now, Prospero's speech is 90 words long. To finish today's lesson, what we're going to ask you to do is to summarise Prospero's speech in modern English, using no more than 50 words. So in under 50 words, very briefly, that means you might be writing 2 sentences, maybe 3, or to keep it quite brief, maybe just do 3 or 4 bullet points. It's up to you, but summarise Prospero's speech. Now go to the next slide, because on the next slide now, you'll have the speech there again for this. Here we are. So summarise Prospero's speech in modern English, that means in your own words, use no more than 50 words. So you might want to use some of the bits I've got there in bold to prompt you. What was Prospero saying? Write it in your own words. Very, very short piece of writing, please. Pause the video now and give it a go. Well done for doing that. So this is mine. I did mine in kind of bullet point and sentences, I suppose. 48 words. Prospero says he made Ferdinand suffer, but the pain will be worth it. Miranda is a third of Prospero's life. Prospero's challenges tested Ferdinand's love. Ferdinand passed the test. Prospero allows him to get married. Prospero says Miranda will surpass any praise that can be given to her. Okay, yours might look different to that. That's fine, as long as you've got a lovely summary, then you've done a grand job, Year 8. So again, just to think about, as we finish this lesson now, how does Prospero treat Ferdinand? How does Prospero treat Miranda? How do you feel? This is completely for you to think of your own opinion here. How do you feel about the way Prospero treats people in The Tempest? What do you think? And to finish off, let's do a quick quiz question. So which of the following statements are true? A. Prospero thinks that Ferdinand is good enough for Miranda. B. Prospero is protective of Miranda. C. Miranda and Ferdinand's love is not real because Prospero used his magic to make them fall in love. D. Prospero allows Ferdinand to marry Miranda because Ferdinand is a noble prince. And E. Miranda does not care what her father thinks of Ferdinand. Which statements are true? I'm going to leave it here for about 20 seconds. Just jot down the letter of the correct statements. A few more seconds. Okay, now it's going to be time to check your own answers. So these two are correct. Prospero thinks Ferdinand is good enough for Miranda, so he agrees, but he is protective of her. So well done for today. That's the end of lesson 19. The very last thing you'll need to do is go on to lesson 20 now, and then you can say that's a wrap, you've done it. Here's your lovely animal picture. Your clue, this would be a hard one to know what it is, but apparently it's the happiest looking animal in the world. So there you go. Well done for today. See you on lesson 20.